Hello, Jag Nation. John Piper back again with Coach Brian Basil for Jag Nation Radio. Episode 1 of the 2020 season. The Jaguars travel to McKinney ISD Stadium Thursday night for a 7 p.m. kick versus McKinney Boyd. You can find this on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker.com. There's a dedicated app now for Jag Nation Radio in the Apple Store, or on the FMJaguarFootball.com website. And this is brought to you by Rapid Med, Strittmatter Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Anderson Roofing, and Cloud Realty. Thank you all, Jaguar sponsors, for bringing you the Coach Brian Basil Show each and every week, all season long. And now I'm pleased to be joined by head coach Brian Basil. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, John. How are you doing?
Well, we talk, man, I am doing great. It's just exciting. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about we're both excited to just have football season. You know, that was kind of up in the air for several months for sure, and it's kind of a week-to-week thing. And we're confident that everybody will follow protocol and we'll have a season. And I know we're both excited to be able to play football come Thursday night.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We obviously had a long summer with our summer workouts, strength and conditioning, and being able to do some football skills. And but now that we've started scrimmaging last week and getting into practice and game planning, it's as normal as it's felt for a while, and that's a good feeling.
Yeah, I wanted to come down and visit you at practice, but not your call, but Louisville Independent School District is still, I think you called it at orange level, and I get it, being safe. So you're not letting any outsiders come in to even that practice bubble. And how's it been? Has it been much calmer, more focused at practice?
It's been good. Practices have felt normal, with the exception of just some things we've got to do to maintain spacing and distancing, to limit close contact. Obviously, with football, you're going to do drills, you're going to do things where you're going to be within that 6 feet, but just everything else you do outside of that, our players have really done a good job. Just the procedures before practice, after practice, of alternating groups, getting in the locker room and getting changed out. Those are all things we've had to manage, but as far as the practices go, the pads are popping, whistles are blowing. That's been back to normal for the most part. So that's nice. The focus now is really on preparing for a big football game Thursday night against McKinney Boyd. So early on, while we were doing football skills during the summer, and here back when practice started, you're trying to get focused on those procedures, and that's been a chore, developing those habits. Normally you're focused on X's and O's and things you need to do. I think our kids have gotten pretty good habits and understand what they need to do to ensure that we can stay healthy throughout the season.
Well, Coach, the good news is it's a level playing field for both you, McKinney Boyd, Coach Joe McBride. You've had limited full contact practices like you just mentioned. You haven't had a chance to have some of those preseason scrimmages like you do in the past to kind of see, where your players are, how they handle, getting knocked down, getting back up. Any feedback from your coaching staff on what they're seeing? You feel like all your guys are going to be ready to go come Thursday night?
I think so. We've had a lot of time with them this summer with what the UIL allotted for skill work. So that's been good. We feel like we've had a lot of time to get the X's and O's on, but just the repetition has been where we're probably behind, just like a lot of people. And overall, we're a very young team this year. So that's just something we've tried to maximize the amount of time we're getting with those guys to give them as close to game experience as we can. But yeah, the feedback has really been pretty good. Our scrimmage last Friday, there were some areas that we look pretty sharp at times. Just developing that consistency, I think, has been the key, and that's going to get better and better from week to week.
Well, Coach, you made history last November when your team won their first playoff game in the school's 21-year history. A fantastic 31-30 victory against Keller. A lot of the players that were on that team are gone now. Are there some players that are stepping up now that can kind of reel from that victory and kind of know what it takes to win those tight games?
Yeah, those guys were a special group of kids that were part of some history in school. As you said, they were juniors and won the first district championship, first playoff game last year. I think the thing is they set an example for the guys that are coming up to follow, and the example was set for those guys with guys like Connor Lees and Jackson Averett and Matthew Greenwoods and Jake Springfields. I mean, those guys that came before, Jake Welch, all those guys were just key to building the foundation of our program. So the guys coming in, they're stepping into those roles in terms of a varsity football player, and obviously you've got to replace production. But I think the biggest thing is that there's an expectation that's been set for the culture of our program, and those guys have been around and know that, and I think that's what, when you go in and if you've got that foundation for what defines us and how we do things, and I think that's the hardest part, and then the X's and O's, those things come. But these guys that are young, they've come up to the program, and just like everybody else, they've paid their dues and they've worked hard and they've earned the right to run out there on Thursday. So we're excited to hand them the reins and see what they can do.
Well, Coach, as we record this on Monday night, you got really just one more full day of full contact practice before you do your walkthrough on Wednesday. There's probably still some decision making going on, and who's going to get in there. Do you plan on playing some twos early to get them ready for district play, since you haven't had that much contact in practice?
Yeah, you definitely want to have a rotation, especially early on. You're probably not in shape to go play a 4-quarter game just yet, just as early in the year. Although with it being the way the weather is now, it's going to be beautiful. It's not like those first games that third week in August where it's still 100 degrees on the turf at kickoff, and you got issues with cramping and things like that. So that will help. But, yeah, we certainly want to have a number of guys in a rotation to have them ready. There's still guys that you got to get in there and get to that game experience sooner than later. Obviously, your non-district is just developing your team and finding out your strengths and weaknesses and preparing to get into district play.
Well, Coach, you got quite a bit of talent coming back, mainly on that defensive side of the ball, defensive end. Stone Eby, what a playmaker he was last year. You got to be fortunate to have him back there to kind of anchor that defensive line alongside Colton Vaultney, 6'2", 250-pounder, had a big season last year. Are you going to put a lot more emphasis on your defense to kind of keep you in ball games late this season, or will the offense have to step it up?
Yeah, we got a little more experience come back on the defensive side, so that's always good, especially on the front line. There in the trenches. But yeah, they're going to have to really do a good job of establishing themselves early on. Now we're excited about our offense, and we've got some tools there. And in this day and age in high school football and football in general, you got to put points on the board. So, but a big part of that's defense being able to get off the field and limit opportunities that our opponent's offense has. But yeah, that those guys you mentioned are really key leaders for us, and they've been in that position. Stone's he'll be a 3-year starter for us, so he's been in some big football games. So his experience is really going to be vital.
And on the offensive side, you've got wide receiver Landon Wiedner coming back, 6'3", 190, just a junior. Walker Mulkey, just a sophomore, 6'1", 180-pounder. You've got some deep threats there on the offensive side as well.
Yeah, Landon was a kid that ended up starting our second-round playoff game last year. We had the starter out with an injury, and so he was able to get some key experience and played really well. He's had a great summer. there's a young man named Isaac Carpenter who's really had an outstanding summer, and he had a good scrimmage for us. Kate Edline was a starter on our JV last year along with Isaac, and those guys kind of sat in the wings while Reed Touchstone and Carson Winters and Reese Carter and those guys did their thing. And with those guys getting a chance to settle in on the JV and get some experience, now it's their turn, and they've had some good role models to look at and how you work and how you practice, and they have followed along right in their footsteps.
Well, Coach, it's a short week. I don't know if you prefer Thursday night games. Probably, I would think you prefer Friday nights. Give you that extra day to practice, but you travel into McKinney, Texas, face McKinney Boyd on the road. What's it going to take to square off against McKinney Boyd and bring home the W on Thursday night?
Well, you're going on the road, playing in somebody's own backyard with a team that is got some experience returning. Their quarterback is a returning starter. They've got good 1-2 punch at running back, strong offensive line, defensive line. We're really going to have to go, and we can't wait to go out and kind of feel it out. We got to come out and really get off to a good start. There's going to be a lot of these kids' first time traveling an away game and varsity competition, and I think that those early away games are good to keep you focused a little bit more. When you're playing at home early on, there's a little bit more familiar surroundings. So when you go into an opponent's home field situation, you got to circle the wagon, so to speak. I mean, it brings those guys close together. They understand that they're stepping into enemy territory with each other, and so they've got to be focused and come out and play hard from the get-go. It's a very well-coached team, physical team. So, we're going to have to go out and match their physicality and intensity early on. I think that's the biggest thing is they've gone for so long wondering, are we going to get to play? We're not going to get to play. What's it going to be like? Well, it's here. And when those lights go on, they're going to realize that, it's time to go have fun. And so I think that's really the biggest key is, get ready to go out and be excited that we have the opportunity to play.
Well, Coach, the only thing we really have to look at right now is 2 full weeks of NFL football, and some of the storylines there are, some unusually high rate of injury, I think partly due to not having mini camps and some of the exhibition games. Do you anticipate any extra injuries since the kids hadn't been able to really get after it much, or have you seen much in practice thus far? Anybody injury prone?
Yeah, I hope not. That was a concern when we did start back as far as not having spring practice, having a limited amount of contact. But our guys have really done a great job in the weight room. Our coaches have worked hard to make sure that the intensity of what they're doing, the numbers that they're pushing in the weight room, that helps. That's a big in our program, we place a very high value on that. And there's just a lot of research out there that shows the correlation between a strong weight program and minimizing injuries. So I'm hoping that with that, along with being able to play a number of guys and having some rotations, that we can minimize that. That's always a concern. But again, I think everybody's started from an equal starting point, and hopefully some things that we've done will minimize that.
Coach Brian Basil, Jag Nation Radio. Good luck Thursday night, Coach. Just get the first W of the season.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.